You planted it near the balcony because someone said it brings wealth. But now, you wonder. The money came, but it also left. Fast. Because this plant wasn't meant to attract wealth. It was made to hold it. And if you place it wrong, the roots can't grip the chi. And the energy you work so hard for flows right out the door. Mangrove trees don't chase rivers. They anchor them. So the question is, where is your wealth slipping through? Some trees bring luck. Some invite opportunity. But this one, it holds. The freshwater mangrove doesn't grow for beauty. It doesn't sway for approval. It stands, quietly. Its roots reach deep not just into the earth, but into the energetic layers of your home. In Fengshui, roots mean retention. They hold the qi. And the branches? They don't scatter. They point. With clarity. With will. If you run a business, if you're a freelancer, or if your income rises and falls like waves, this is your plant. Because sometimes the problem isn't how much comes in. It's how little stays. Before we begin, there's something important waiting at the end of this video. A single detail about where this tree should stand. Near the place where money energy flows and often escapes. Stay with me, because when you place it right, the chi doesn't just pause. It stays. It roots. And if you have a morning ritual, a breath, a touch, a moment with your plant, tell me in the comments. The universe listens, especially when we speak with presence. The first time I saw someone place a mangrove tree, it was at a client's studio apartment. She was a freelancer, booked, brilliant, but always broke. The money comes, she said, but it never stays. I looked around her space. Everything flowed, too perfectly. From the door to the back window. No curve, no pause, no anchor. In Feng Shui, we call that a piercing qi path. Just like her bank account, energy entered fast and escaped just as quickly. I used to think I had a money problem, like maybe I just didn't earn enough. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about how much came in. It was how fast it disappeared. Rent, bills, random stuff. I'd open my account and feel that pit in my stomach. Like, where did it all go? And one day, I walked into my space, looked around, and realized there was nothing in here that told energy to stay. No rug, no curve, no anchor, just straight lines, just movement, just exit signs. That's when I learned about roots. That chai-like money doesn't care how hard you work. It listens to what your space says. And mine? It was saying, come in, then leave. So I placed a mangrove, not to fix everything, just to say, I'm done running, stay if you will. And something changed. Maybe that's what you've been feeling. That sense that you're always starting over, always receiving, but never retaining. This isn't just about money. It's about presence. Where in your life do you need to root something down? So maybe it's not that you need to earn more. Maybe you just need to stop letting it slip. Maybe the shift begins when you finally place something in your life that says, this is where I hold steady. And the mangrove, with its quiet strength, is how you start. It responds to anchoring, but roots alone aren't enough, because energy can still scatter if your will is soft. In the next loop, Let's talk about the branches. You ever feel like you're doing everything right, but nothing's moving forward? Like you're busy, but scattered. That's not failure. That's leaking energy. Some trees grow wild. Their branches reach everywhere. Beautiful, but lost. The mangrove doesn't do that. Its branches are steady, thick, firm. They don't reach for everything. They choose a direction. I used to think focus was about doing more. Hustle harder. Stack your calendar. Always say yes. But I learned the hard way that scattered action doesn't create wealth. It creates burnout. The mangrove shows a different kind of success. Not rushing, not branching out to prove worth, just strength in one direction. That's why, in Fengshui, this plant isn't just symbolic. It holds a field. It says, this is where I place my energy, and I'm not moving unless it matters. And when your space holds that kind of message, Qi listens. Dern chung koa hok maim, whisper style. Neuroscience tells us the brain doesn't thrive in multitasking. Every time we split our focus, we lose energy switching between tasks. But when we hold one direction, energy doesn't leak. It flows. That's how magnetic fields stabilize. Not by scattering in all directions, but by aligning. Maybe the reason things feel scattered isn't because you're doing too little. Maybe you're doing too much, in too many directions. So ask yourself, what if I stopped chasing every path and just held one? Mangrove branches don't reach everywhere. They root deep and point with purpose. That's what energy respects. Not noise, direction. And if the branches speak of focus, the entrance speaks of invitation. Let's talk about where to place this tree, so wealth doesn't keep slipping out the door. Ever walk through your front door and feel like the space is open but restless? Like something enters, but nothing stays? That's not just design. That's movement. Feng Shui teaches that your entrance isn't just a doorway. It's a stream, a channel where energy flows in and flows out. If there's no pause, no anchor, no welcome, the qi doesn't stay, and neither does your money. I once stepped into a house where the front door faced a back glass wall. It looked beautiful, but I couldn't breathe. The space felt like a tunnel. The air didn't stay. It moved, fast, and I remember thinking, this house is exhaling, but never inhaling. That's what unanchored qi feels like. It enters, glides through, and leaves. It doesn't pause. It doesn't settle. It doesn't listen. I asked the owner, where do you rest in this house? She said, she doesn't. That's when we placed the mangrove, right by the entry flow. Not in the middle, not blocking, just nearby. Its roots sat like a low breath, the kind that calms a room. And something shifted. The house began to feel like a body, not just a hallway. The energy slowed, and so did she. Here's what actually happens. When energy flows straight through a space, from the entrance to the exit, your nervous system doesn't feel safe. It feels exposed. That constant motion, it triggers a mild stress response. You may not notice it, but your body does. Your cortisol goes up. Your focus drops. You start making quick decisions instead of grounded ones. The house becomes a highway, and your energy becomes a passenger, never settling. But when you place something like a tree, something rooted, your brain registers a boundary. It says, okay, I can pause now. And when you pause, so does the spending, so does the rush. That's not superstition. That's regulation. The house began to feel like a body, not just a hallway. The energy slowed, and so did she. There's something else, something science says too. So many of us ask, where can I place a tree to attract wealth? But maybe the better question is, where is my wealth escaping? What if you've been placing all the right things, but in the wrong place? Doors don't just invite, they release. Without roots nearby, energy has no reason to stay. The mangrove becomes that reason. And now, let's go deeper. Into the ritual. Into the moment when we say, stay. The first thing you touch each morning holds power. Some people scroll, some rush. But what if the first thing you did was water a root? Most people water plants like a chore. Pour, walk away. But the mangrove doesn't want maintenance. It wants meaning. Because water is not just hydration, it's communication. In Fengshui, the early morning, between 7 and 9 a.m., belongs to Earth. Not because the sun is higher, but because the chi is calmer. This is when the day takes shape, when energy decides what stays and what slips away. That's why we water the mangrove then, not just to feed it, but to root an intention while the field is still soft, like pressing a fingerprint into wet clay. If you wait too late, the energy dries. The message doesn't hold. Barn kathenoi to reveal, science nouvelle. That's why we water early, not just for the plant, but for what it does to us. Science says the same thing. Biologically, something else is happening too. Around that same hour, your cortisol peaks. It's your body's natural wake-up chemical. But here's what most people don't know. If you rush into noise, that energy turns into anxiety. But if you pair it with calm movement, like watering a tree with focus, the body anchors instead of reacting. Your breathing slows. Your decisions shift from impulse to presence. And that one quiet ritual, it tells your nervous system, this is where I begin today, from ground, from choice. So tomorrow, wake before the world rushes in. Stand near your mangrove. Feel the air. Touch the roots. And pour, slowly. Not just water, but presence. As you water, say softly, I choose to keep what matters. I place what stays. I anchor the wealth I once chased. It's not about how much you water. It's how deeply it lands. And what lands stays. So now, we've rooted. We've focused. We've slowed the flow. There's only one thing left. A reflection. And an invitation to speak yours. Maybe you've been chasing more. More income. More clients. More wins. But sometimes, the shift doesn't come from more. It comes from not losing what you already have. From holding. From keeping. From telling the energy, this stays. So before you go, let me ask you this. What energy do you want to anchor today? Let it be a word, a feeling, a whisper in the comments below. If this video made you pause, even just for a breath, then something inside you is already ready. In Feng Shui, real change doesn't start with what you buy. It starts with what you place and how you place it. Tell me what you're anchoring. Just one thing. And maybe We all hold it with you. I keep what matters. I slow what rushes. I root what I once feared would leave.